Dad. What do you want for Father's Day this year?
You don't have to get me anything special. You ready for this hike?
Yeah, let's go. What about like a tarp or like a high-end backpack or like maybe some titanium cookware?
Oh, wow. You are really going all out. Like I said before, you don't have to get me anything.
Okay. I got it. I know what I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you a Dutchware gift card. That way you can get anything you want.
The best thing you can possibly give me is spending time with you out here in nature, because things are things and memories are forever.
Aw, I love you, Dad.
For this Father's Day, try to go out and have some adventures with your family. And from the Dutchware family, happy Father's Day. Thank you, everybody.
Hey Mom, can you return those cheeseburger socks I bought? I have a better gift idea. Me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Father's Day edition of our live stream. I hope there's some fathers out there. Hope there's some families out there. So this is a big reminder of what's important. Remember that possessions are just burdens you have to carry. And the reason they call stuff stuff is because it's just stuff. So don't pack your fears and take just minimalist stuff, but what's really important is getting out and adventuring, because nobody's going to go and remember that thing that you bought off of Amazon, but they're going to remember the trips that you took, the time that you spent with each other. That is what's seriously important. So just went on a trip just a couple weeks ago, it was a week and a half ago, and I said I was going to show off my rig. I don't think I did a very good job of it, but I was trying to go super ultralight, so I keep up with those young guys. So I want to show that off. I want to show off how I pack my backpack, and then I'm really hoping to show some backpacks. But right away, in the name of not having too much stuff, let's do some giveaways. So I'm going to do two of these. These are pack covers. So this is a camo pack cover, and well, I'm not even sure the camo it is, but we're going to do the first person on Facebook that types #Stinger. And then on YouTube, I have this pink one. I see it has bling on it, on like a purplish or a darker red bling on there. So on that, type #flies on Facebook. We have more of those coming up, but they're fun. So feel free to chime in with some questions. I'm going to try to get to them as I go through here. Particularly that would be relative to what to pack or how to pack. And I really want to go over how to pack. So on this last trip, I probably went the lightest that I've ever gone. And that is this setup here. I really didn't feel like I was sacrificing too much. The one thing that is notable is I don't have a bug net. Now, I wasn't going to where it was very buggy, and I did spray everything down with permethrin, which I thought was going to be absolutely fantastic. But I'm going to say that permethrin keeps bugs away from what you spray with, but it doesn't keep everything away from the entire area. I got some bug bites on my legs that were exposed, and I didn't spray them down with DEET because I thought, I got permethrin all over me. And well, it's not a safe, not a cure-all, but it's pretty decent. But I really wasn't that concerned, particularly at night. I'm going outside to be outside. I really don't need to be encased in nylon and bug netting. And really, I prefer to use a top cover pretty much all season unless it's really warm, because what I really want to do is bring up the temperature inside the hammock. Even if it's 50 degrees, I wouldn't mind it being 60 degrees. That way I don't have to cover up my face or make my face feel cold. But this was particularly a warm night. We are having fantastic weather here in Pennsylvania, and the nights have been wonderful. So this is a netless hammock. It's a 1.0 Hexon. It has knotty mods to help keep your quilt in, and it's only 10 foot long. So that's a pretty darn short by today's standards. But if you went back, 10 years ago, that pretty much all hammocks were 10 foot long, and then we made the leap to 11 foot. So people slept just fine 10 years ago, and it was a minor sacrifice. But what that meant was that not only is the weight of that small, or the weight of that lighter, but also I could use a smaller Dyneema tarp. So I think this is a 10-foot ridge line on a Dyneema tarp, and that's because it was made when hammocks were 10 foot long. So this thing is coming in like a scant 5 ounces. The hammock is coming in at like 6 ounces. So this is all pretty light. I have a 3/4 underquilt. I took a pad, took a Z-Rust, and I through hiked with this thing, so it is beat up, as you can see, but it still insulates just fine. I really like to have a pad with me anyhow, because I'm not going to carry a seat. So I want to be able to have something that I can sit on. Sometimes I throw it down and it's where I put things. I use this, or very often I'll use our 4 square ones. These are really nice, but these were a little bit small. This is what I'm going to take if I'm just going to use it as a sit pad. But here, I wanted something for protection underneath here. Honestly, it was so warm at night, I don't even really think I needed it. But for some reason, your lower legs do not need as much insulation, and you do not feel the cold coming through like you would where you're back. Maybe it's because you're not pressing against it with all your weight, but at least that's what I find. Let me know if you find something different. Seems like 3/4 underquilts have gone out of style, and that's a shame, because I really like the way they pack down small, and I'm still a big fan of them. I have a 50-degree down quilt. So, and then last thing I have is my Sea to Summit pillow, and honestly, I really like this thing. This was a gift, and it was a great gift. Somehow they put padding on one side, and then they put, I wish I could make one of these, because I would design it slightly different than this, but it's pretty darn good. You see, I don't inflate it the whole way. But I mean, that's it. And this whole setup is, well, I think it is about as light, at least of someone. I am hovering around 200 pounds. You know, I can't see getting too much lighter than this with a Dyneema tarp. I guess I could go ASIM and cut off 1 ounce, but that's it. But there's one more trick that I had, and that is going to be my suspension and whoopee slings. You know, first everybody used straps, or maybe straps and ropes, and then whoopee slings came around, and man, people switched to whoopee slings. They were the greatest thing. But then people learned about the downside to whoopee slings, and that is the fiddle factor, because they don't make trees all the same size, and they don't space them exactly the same distance. And there's a lot of play that you have to deal with for different size trees and different size huggers. But I think I do have a cure for that I use. Now, I'm still a big fan of all webbing suspension, and I will 9 times out of 10 take a beetle buckle suspension with the new webbings that you have, the spider poly, and actually I'm hoping to come out with something even better than that in the near future, but it has narrowed down the weight gap that you have, the weight savings that you get with a whoopee sling. So, but you still got that fiddle factor, so I really love doing the all suspension with the webbing strap. But as you can see here, what I did to make this so much easier is I use this is spider daisy chain webbing. This is actually a new one that we're coming out with, and this is only a prototype, but we've been able to lighten this down to even lighter than the regular webbing. So, but the reason that this is so beneficial is that I can pull through any of these holes, which means that the whoopee sling, I don't have to worry about a tree being, if a tree is really thin, like this non-tree is right here, I'm going through a hole that's only, 6 inches. So, but if I had to, and the tree was bigger, I would go through here. But the point of this is that the place where this is locked onto the, we're going to call this an adjustable hugger, but it's really a strap, is going to be as close to the tree as possible. Because look at all the distance I have to have from here to here that I have to have from the tree to where the whoopee sling is going to wind up being. So that's I still have quite a bit amount of adjustment. If this so-called tree was in another 18 inches, I would still be okay. But this is why there's so much fiddle factor. And these spider daisy chain webbing really help to make it so that you can have the knot as close to the tree, which means that you can have, as long as you have this distance from the tree, you're still good. That's probably good because your tarp should be a little bit bigger than your hammock anyhow. So you're going to have a certain amount of distance. If it was much bigger, the tarp wouldn't fit anyhow. But it was something that I kind of been working on, and I decided to take out in this trip, and it worked absolutely excellent. I didn't use these whoopee slings. I used these old Dynaglide whoopee slings. There was some of the first time I ever played with Dynaglide, and then I decided when it was all done, especially since the hooks that I used were my old style of hooks, and well, we're much better at rounding edges than what I was then. So we'll just say they weren't the prettiest hooks. So I decided to discard them because the whoopee slings were pretty worn out. But you can get quite a bit of use on even the Dynaglide ones, as long as the strand isn't broken. Some of those strands were broken, so it was time to retire them. But it really made so that my suspension was tiny and light, and I could fit it into a very small area. So, all right, well, I really wanted to show that off because that was super light. So I want to get into how I pack my backpack, some of the things that I take on my trip. I got some like my first aid, and I mix first aid and my emergency kits. I mix them up together. So, but let's do a giveaway. And this next one, there's going to be 2 items. All right. So, this is a Big Carl pack hanger. And I hope Big Carl's out there listening, because he invented this. It's a really great way to hang your pack on a tree. And all you do is go around the tree. You can go around more than once if you want to. But then you hook it, and then you get the loop on your backpack. Pretend I'm the tree, by the way. And then it has a Dutch hook on it, and you just hook it there. And that way your pack can be hanging up on the tree. So that is the Big Carl pack hanger. We have them in Amsteel. We also have them Zing-It. They weigh really practically nothing, and a lot of people don't know what to do with their pack. If you go and you do that and you hang it on the tree, throw your pack cover on, you're in pretty good shape, and you can kind of suspend it up off the ground. Keep some of the creepy crawlies off of it. So I have that, and since we're doing packing, I wanted to do these Gidget bags, and these are cloud Gidget bags. So first one we're going to do for Facebook, and all I have to do for that on Facebook, the very first person that does hashtag Tarp flies wins that. And the second is YouTube. And they just have to do hashtag Made in America. All right, so how to pack a backpack from Hammock Camping, and some of the tricks that I do. And also I wanted to go over some of the gear. Let's go over some of the gear that I keep. So I keep a lot of things. I actually keep it in my food bag just because there's a lot of little things that I don't want to get lost. Sometimes I'll have maybe I'll have an electronics bag, so I'll go and I'll keep a couple things in the electronics bag if I'm bringing a battery backup or something like that. But if this is just an overnighter, maybe 2 nights, I'll often keep like my medical kit right into my food bag. So, you know, obviously you're gonna have a stove. I'm still using alcohol stove. I through hiked with this. I might through hike with it again. And this is a titanium pot that I've always really liked. It has this lid that I use sometimes as a 2-pot piece. I'll go and I'll make a sauce in one and the pasta in the other. So toiletries, I got to keep my deuce scoop. I'm going to keep that in here, and then I got toilet paper. So a friend of mine once told me that you pack 54 squares of toilet paper per day. And I asked him, I said, well, what if you got to go more than once? And he goes, it's not allowed. I said, well, what if you get sick or something? And he goes, it's not allowed. You get 54 a day, and that's all. And he would count out 54. I don't do that. I grab a sizable roll. I don't want to run out of toilet paper. And then I also want some type of baby wipe, or I guess these dude wipes that have come about lately. So I think I bought a gross of them, so I throw them in. But they're just basically baby wipes that are single serves. So bear rope, we started making these really neat folding bear ropes. This has 50 foot of line on it, so this is going to be plenty for any bear hang. And I really like this thing because it folds, and then you wrap it up a couple of times, and it's going to hold. It's going to be easy to wind up, but then you go and you can fold it up, and it keeps everything nice and neat. And it does have a little bit of weight, but man, you don't have to untangle the line like you do when you just try wrapping around your arm. 50 foot of line, I have never been able to do it that doesn't get tangled up. And I really wanted to get into first aid, and I consider first aid also to be repair kit. So if we get a little bit closer in on this, I often keep one of these little fire starters with me, or some type of fire starter. So This is a pretty decent one. I think it's UCQ or something like that makes them. But I want to bring a couple components, because what if something fails? What if a shoelace breaks? What if I need to strap something to it? So I keep a mitten hook, and I also keep a little mini cord lock. And I keep a couple Band-Aids and a piece of moleskin. So I have not figured out how not to get blisters yet. But then I keep a little piece of Zing-It and some shock cord. So the reasons for these, I especially do this, I like this for when I go bike packing, because I can lash stuff to things, the outside of my pack or to my bike rack or something like that. And I really have found, particularly the shock cord, to be really useful for doing exactly that, because it keeps it, not only you tying it on, but you're also keeping it tight to it with the elasticity of it. So that's really it. It's, except there's one more, and sometimes you get tears. So I have this. It is simply a piece of cardboard with a bunch of different threads, different colors and different thickness of threads, and then I put a sewing needle in there. And if I get a tear, maybe in the side of my backpack, and I have had to make repairs, this is one item that I've definitely always used, and I just keep this in a chapstick case. So it doesn't weigh much, and having a hole in your backpack can kind of stink. So it's good to be able to sew things up, and I'm glad I have the ability to do that. So one other thing is I'll keep on my trekking poles some duct tape, and that can be used for many different types of repairs, and also some blister protection if so be for that. All right, so get that put away. Backpacks that I carry, I'm pretty much always going to have hip belt pockets on them, and I think they're an absolute necessity. Here on the left-hand side, I always keep some bug spray if I'm going to be encountering bugs, and very often I keep my lighter in there. And the right-hand side, actually I've got it sitting over here, but that is where my headlamp lives. And actually my headlamp, when I even see it starting to get dark, I pull this out and I put it around my neck, and half the time I forget that it's there, and I'll be hiking throughout the day and I'll have this thing just wearing it like a necklace. For a knife, you know, I very often will keep that actually in the same pocket. A little Victorinox knife is usually what I carry. Or I have a neck knife. I think I have a neck knife. I do have a neck knife. I don't have a neck knife. Okay, well, I very often will wear a neck knife that I go and I can have, because you know, you just never know, and you just might need a knife just to cut something very simple. But we're only talking things that are tiny. I am not skinning animals. I am opening up a pack of beef jerky, or I am cutting a string, and that's really all that I have to do. So I really like the knives that have scissors on them if I'm going to be in any type of time on the trail. It's so much time that I need to like trim my mustache or something. So that's a couple more items. Is my tent stakes. I'm going to need a pack cover. A lot of packs don't need them these days because they are so darn waterproof. The world, that's the one place where the world has gotten a lot better, is making backpacks more waterproof. Okay, I'm going to have a smart water bottle, at least one on one side, and then I am still using the squeeze with the mini, and I might be changing that up this year. There's been some good filters that have come up. This is certainly, these were great the last 10 years, but there's some good ones out there. Actually, if anybody has any ideas of what they really like for water filters, it's something that I'm kind of still trying to feel out what I'm going to be taking on my thru hike. All right, so the last thing is rain gear. And sometimes I don't take rain gear, but I will often take rain gear to wear as just a jacket and also just in case. Here's some tent stakes that I got. So this is what I would take for my ultralight setup. I got some hook stakes. One of the things I really like about this tarp is, now, mind you, this is a fair weather tarp, and if it was going to be raining, I would have had a rectangle tarp. But what I really like about a hex tarp is when you can get away with it, you only need 4 stakes, and that's awesome. It's awesome because you don't have to carry as many stakes, but it's also awesome because you don't have to wind up so many tie outs or untangle so many tie outs or just staking everything down. So when I can get away with it, I'm going to use a hex. And here, this is just a simple bag that I made. This is out of 300D, and there's just an elastic strap that goes around, and, well, quite simple. So one of the last items is raincoat that I mentioned earlier. And this isn't just a raincoat. This is also my jacket for the morning if I need a jacket. And can be buggy protection. If it's really buggy, I'll throw this on, kind of cover up my arms and stuff. But definitely want to do double duty. This counts as certainly an outer layer, and I'm not going to need any clothes. Maybe I bring one more pair of socks if I'm going for a longer time. One trick I like to do is I will sew elastic loops to the back of my sock, and if I'm taking multiple socks in particular, I do this, and then they get carabinered onto the back of my pack. And the reason for this is because socks are going to get wet, and it is such a treasure to go and to put on dry socks. So you have to do something with those wet socks. So the best thing you can do is hang them off the back of your pack. Another reason that's really good is if you go to a store and you have dirty thru hiker socks on the outside of your pack, more likely you're going to be left alone. Your pack isn't going to be bothered because nobody wants to touch thru hiker socks. So for packing, you know, the Anacondas, gives some credit out there to Chris Gherkin and also John Rammel Trailheads for helping develop the Anaconda, because I think it has really made packing just absolutely incredibly easy. So this is, if you have seen a lot of my videos, you've seen this setup. This is a 20-degree setup in here, and it has my chameleon with top cover, and it has the corn, the corn one that I used to kind of introduce the quilted chameleon. And when you get this down, it packs pretty small, and if you give it a squish like this, you'll see that we made this oval. Now, if you just go and you cinch it down, it's going to want to not be oval. But when it does get oval, you can see that it gets nice flat on the sides. And so when I put this in my pack, I'm going to stick this in, and I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to turn it sideways. Don't put it in here like this, because that leaves too much space there. You get it in like this, and it takes up the whole bottom of your pack. It is a fairly, once you put it in here, it's a fairly dense item, and you want to keep that kind of low and to your pack. Low and to your back is what I really meant to say. To your lower back, and And since this is going to be the last thing that I'm ever going to pull out of here, it should be the first thing that I put in the pack. So after that, toiletries I generally am going to leave out. Of course, there would be a bunch of food in here, and that's about it. So I really like roll down bags because you really have to consider this stuff to be something that's going to be getting wet. That's going in next. If I can, and I'm packing one of these, I really want it to live right here. And the reason I want it to live here is it really helps it sit up. It also kind of protects the bottom of your pack when you drop your pack onto rocks and stuff like that. So it is always my preference there. You can't always do that. This pack doesn't allow that. So I have to go and I have to strap it to the top. But my preference is right down here. So here on the outside pockets, I don't know when I'm going to need this, but I'm going to need this at some point during the day. So I tend to keep that right in the side pocket. I want to keep my filter because as I hit a stream, I don't want to be digging through my pack. I also, these things can have water in them, and you don't want any moisture getting inside your backpack. I should also mention that I also keep a pack liner in here, and once I put the Anaconda or any type of quilt system, I try to seal that up. I have had water bladders leak within my pack, which has been a disaster. And then, and actually a stuff sack was open. It was the worst possible situation, so that the water bladder just leaked right into a stuff sack, which held the water, which made my down stuff. And it was a cold day. I had to dry it out in the fire. So. Then I'm going to keep some water bottles right over here, either one here and one here if I can, to kind of distribute the weight. These smart water bottles, I don't know how we're going to get any better than this because these just seem absolutely fantastic. So if I'm taking a pack cover, I want the pack cover to be last. So I take tent stakes, they go into the bottom. This is my tarp, and I generally do not put this in a stuff sack. I generally just keep it in a sleeve. That is my preference. I want it to conform to whatever space I have in here. I also just don't want to carry another thing. Less is more. So and then very often it's rain gear. And with that, there's the pack cover. If I'm using a pack cover, some backpacks these days just don't use it. The one last thing in here, and I got to make some space for it, is my suspension. Now what you see in here is the stuff that is on the outside of my pack. It is the order of which I access it. Also, if it is wet and has to drip out, I'm going to keep it particularly out here. So my tarp can dry through the day. In all those folds, it doesn't dry much, but anything counts. If the webbing is either sappy or it is wet, which is a very good chance of it, you know, we want to keep that out here. I don't care if my pack cover, I don't care if my rain gear gets wet. I also want those accessible. So we're making sure that my pack cover is real close and my rain gear, because I might have to get to them. I got the pockets with my bug spray, and then the other side is going to keep my headlamp, maybe a little pocket knife. I like to keep a bandana strapped to my pack strap, just like this, and I clip it on with a carabiner. Again, I'm sewing a loop onto it, and I sew loops onto anything that I want to have hanging on the outside of my pack. You know, the zip-offs, pant legs and stuff like that. Go and sew little loops to them. And actually, it's best to sew an elastic loop to it. That way, if it catches on something, it has that forgiveness and doesn't tear out as easily. So, and then lastly, this is a phone case made by Ultralight, and I think this is the best one that I've found in the market. I've gone through a couple of them, and my phone, because I have the phone case on it, it just seems a little bit bigger. So I really like this. It has an inside pocket that you know, you can keep some credit cards or something in there. You got this outside pocket to maybe keep your little pocket knife in there or something like that. And it keeps things very accessible. That's about all. I see a lot of people want to put a lot of things on their straps with knives and stuff like that, but just, I try to keep it very minimal. Matter of fact, I try to keep my phone away if I can. All right, in this case, since I can't strap to the bottom here, I'm going to strap to here. This would be a lot fuller, of course, if I was carrying a lot of food. So that's really my plan. One big bag on the inside, mesh pocket on the outside. I like hip belt pockets. I'm kind of picky on the way the pockets are on the sides, and because I want to be able to access my water, but they I find that some of them just aren't deep enough, and then my water bottle falls out, and that's even more of a hassle. I like compression straps here on the sides to cinch everything down. And I'm going to tell you the truth about this, though, is that these ones that use cordage and these cord locks, they don't hold tight enough. This one is not. This one's better than most of them because of the abrasiveness of the of this particular cord. But some of them are trying to use really thin cord with really tiny cord locks, and those little tiny cord locks have really tiny springs which don't hold a lot of pressure, and you aren't really able to cinch that down and really compress that, because what you really want to be doing is getting this as tight to your back. At least that's what I'm doing. I want it as tight to my back as I possibly can. It really helps the load. So, all right, we can get into backpacks a little bit, but before, let's do some giveaways. I got me a phone holder. So these things are fantastic. They have vinyl. You can work your phone right from the inside. They hang right up on your ridge line, and you can hang them up on here without taking off your ridge line, which is a big deal, and you can cinch it down. These things weigh practically nothing. They're dynamo on the one side. You can hear your phone no problem through it, and because we've made it so it's adjustable, it can be right above you, and also we made it so that you can turn it this way so that your phone can be horizontal or vertical. So we're really proud of these. We just introduced these last year, and I forget where I said I'm doing this, but we're going to do this on Facebook. So Facebook users, first of all, you probably shouldn't be on Facebook, but anyhow, Facebook users, first person that does hashtag Big Carl gets themselves this phone holder. So when you win these, you can, very often Vicky will reach out to you, particularly if it is on Facebook, and we'll get your address. But if not, email us and say, hey, I am the person that won the phone holder. Send in Big Carl, and we'll take care of it for you. We'll get them right out to you. We ship them out they probably go out Thursday, or at least as soon as we find out the address. All right, since we're doing packs, we're gonna do another pack cover here. This is one that's bling. It's like a dark green, and then it has the bling on it. And since we just did Facebook, we'll do YouTube. What do they call it? Autumn. So this is the autumn bling. So first person that types hashtag Dutchware gets this on YouTube. So on YouTube, we're really trying to put out a lot of content there. You're going to see a lot higher quality videos. We're really sinking a lot into it. And those of you that have subscribed, also make it so you hit that bell so that you get notified when we download another video. We're trying to make them entertaining, trying to make them informative, educational, and we're planning on doing a lot, particularly when I do my through hike next year. I plan on vlogging the whole way. So we're going to do this one again for YouTube. And we're going to give both of these. One of them is these are our bling bags, and they are the Gidget bags, I should say. So we make these ourselves right here in Lancaster. There's two different sizes. One can fit inside the other. And we'll do on YouTube, hashtag subscribe. I'm going to go and check. So we only got one question. Is there any chance you'll make a half zip Cloud 71 hammock? And I do not prefer to make that. And the reason why is what we found is when there's a zipper put onto the Cloud hammock, it holds up the hem, and people have a tendency to plop down, or another thing they could do is put their hand on it. And it is a super ultralight fabric, and putting that much pressure on a very narrow area has been detrimental to it. I'm not saying they all fail, but it was a higher failure rate than what we could continue to produce on. The netlesses seem to have fared much, much better because the sides aren't held up because of a zipper being put into it, and you are distributing your weight much more evenly. So we do have the Cloud 1.4, and so if you like that light and airy, we have no problems doing that. We find that we have not had the failure rate with that, but we want to make hammocks that are safe, so we prefer not to put zippers onto the Cloud fabric. All right, if you're going backpacking, one thing you need is a backpack. And boy, I got a lot of backpacks. I want to go through a couple of them, but I want to show what I really find is important on a backpack. And I have some examples of what's really great and some things that are not so great on backpacks, some unique stuff. So let's take a look at this. This is the Ohm, and we're looking at almost a perfect backpack and by everything that I measure. I like the big bag. I like the big mesh pocket. It billows outward. Either there's pleats or it's stretchy. I usually don't prefer this fine mesh, even though it's stretchy. And I rather have a pleated, more rigid mesh that I'll show you in other packs. because I find these will tear more easily. But so far this one hasn't fared. I was looking, there was a little something here. It might be starting from like a tent stake or something. And you can see, look how tent stakes are putting pressure on here. Yeah, and there's a little tiny hole right here. So I would like to see this be a little bit more resilient. The pockets, we want them to have some good width and some good depth so that my water bottle is not going to come out. I prefer to have straps down here on the bottom. That way I don't have to strap any pads that I have or anything that would be long. God forbid I should have to take a tent. I want to be able to strap that to the bottom, mostly because that really makes it so it's nice for setting down. Here, every time I get my pack, I gotta do something with this. Now it's not so bad if I'm just gonna be sitting down, because I might be sitting down on this, but I don't always use my pad when I sit down and I don't always sit down every time I want to get into my pack. So I like compression straps on the sides because I want to make this small. I like some type of a frame, even if I'm going ultralight. I don't want to go just, non-frame rucksack. I really want to transfer the whole point of it, transfer the weight to your hips and not on your shoulders. So this one literally takes this carbon fiber pole and comes down and goes right into your hip belt, and the weight then it hoops up on the top and comes down the other side. And that really is a great, I don't think I've ever seen anyone, it's almost an external frame backpack. And I'm actually a fan of external frame backpacks. And then they put some kind of frame sheet in behind here. And this backpack is almost perfect. There's only one thing that I don't like about it. And I try to demonstrate it here. Is that when I move on this, I hope you can hear that. It is the squeakiest thing. And sometimes I forget about it, but half the time I'm just like, I got to put in my headphones because it's really a shame because this pack really rides well. One more thing is the hip belt is a little bit lacking. So my theory on backpacks is a little bit different than the whole rest of the setup, because I got to carry this on my back the whole time. And there are people that are trying to get their base weight underneath 10 pounds. I don't really care about that. Truthfully, I don't even weigh my entire pack. I would like, if my pack weighs 20 pounds and feels like 8, that's fine by me. What I don't want to do is carry an 8-pound pack and make it feel like 20, because that's going the wrong way. So they did not give enough emphasis on the hip belt on here, and it's not even coming to my hip belts. It's not hugging onto my hip bones. When you see these single straps right here, that means that this is not forming around it. There are some that do so much better forming. So I know we all want to get light, but the reason we want to get light is that way things are comfortable. And this sacrificed a little bit of that on the hip belt. And it's a shame. I still love this pack, and I do carry this pack, and don't think I'm bashing it. And I particularly, you're going to see that I have a lot of ULA packs. I love ULA. So here's a pack that I carried. I have carried this pack, I think it's about 3,500 miles. So you know I have to love this pack. It has, I've taken it to car washes and sprayed it off to get all the salt out of it. And honestly, I still might carry this pack. I mean, the only thing that's really not faring well is it did get a little tiny tear right here, but that's really no big deal. The straps are they never were the best. This was when ULA was brand new. Brian Frackle still owned the company. And I was able to totally make this custom for me to see. I even got my name embroidered on it. And I got to pick the features that are on here. So it's a great pack. It really is. And I can show you one of my favorite features on here. Here, look at how much more substantial the old hip belt was. Look how it comes further around on me. So it's catching onto my hips. But here is my very favorite feature. Is it comes with a pack cover. And with a little bit of a contortionist move, let's see if I can still do this, is I can put on my pack cover. Now, it holds on there much better. And it actually has a side buckle here that can clip onto the backpack. But I'm able to put on and take off my pack cover. It is held on to the bottom by a couple ladder locks that are adjustable. When I have my pad back here, it is big enough to go around that, and it has a secret pocket on the bottom of this pack, right down in here. And I'll show that to you with greater detail, but you'll see that I can also take it off. And if you're going through weather where it starts drizzling and you don't know if it's going to rain or not, or you know it's starting to drizzle but it hasn't gotten through the trees yet, you can just do this while you're walking. Boom, you have it on, and then you can take it off. I prefer not to walk with a pack cover on, but if I do have to have one, this one's great because it's fastened to it. If it gets snagged on something and it comes off, I've lost pack covers before because I didn't know that it got snagged on a branch and is hanging a couple miles behind me. So I think they don't make this anymore. I don't think anybody has ever made the built-in pack cover like this. And actually, I think the industry is certainly moving in a different direction than pack covers, but they still got merit. And I really love that about this particular one. You'll see this was one of the very first packs that offered hip belts, and I could have gotten one or hip belt pockets, and I could have gotten one or I could have gotten two. I got two. I was so glad I got two. The only thing that did not fare so great on this pack is it has, so not only do you have the pack body, and this is like a Robic with Dyneema fibers, but it also has this expansion collar. So I can go and really pack this up with food. I have a tendency to eat fresh food. I like to take salami and cheese and bagels, and actually I often like to have vegetables, some carrots or some cucumbers that I'll eat the first day. I know they're ridiculous to take on the trail, but I crave that stuff, so I'll be walking out of town with that, and I can really get this thing pretty darn big with that expansion collar. But then when it gets small, it gets there. But the one thing that did wear out on it here is the urethane coating, and I didn't know why it ran out. But the reason it did was because when black flies come around, I start spraying myself down with DEET, particularly the back of my head, and I got DEET on the pack, and that delaminated the urethane coating on here. It didn't seem to affect the one on this part of it, but the black part is not waterproof at all. There's just a couple areas where it remained on, but most of it has to completely come off. Another downside on this pack is the size of this pocket. I feel like they've missed something. It could have gone from here and it could have gone from here. I really need a big mesh pocket. So today, that is what I look for. I want to show you another unique one. So this is PBD, and this thing, it is almost amazing. And there is one little downside to this, but I don't want, I'm going to mention it, but I don't want you to take away from anything from the overall design, because this is a really cool pack. All right, we got a Dyneema pack. It's really waterproof, and they've done a very good job with, they put grosgrain on all the seams. I really get into the manufacturing of it. I get down here and I'm looking at, oh look, they're going and they're reinforcing everything, and that's really good. They have a lot of daisy chain on it. See, there's daisy chain up on here. I got a couple soft shackles hanging off of here in case I need to like hang sandals off here. I really like their side pocket. I'm able to access it, but yet it's tall enough. I'll keep the smart water bottle in the back, maybe the filter in the front. So that all fits really well. And then it has these two more mesh pockets right here, which is really nice. It kind of substitute the one thing that's missing here is hip belt pockets, but it has daisy chain on it so that I can add that. And when it comes to the hip belt, I'm coming around here, I'm on my hip bone, and it has these dual ladder locks with webbing on here. And the beautiful part about that is because there's two of them there, I'm able to get the top really, really tight. So it's not just strapped around me like this. If this is my hip bone, it is able to form around it, because I can tighten this and I can make it so it really lands on there so it can't slide down, because I've made it tighter on the top than I did on the bottom, and it really hooks on there. And the feature on this, and I don't know if any of you saw it because it's kind of hard because it's black on black, but this is an external frame backpack. And I mean, almost all backpacks used to be external frames. Look at the old Kelties, and they had those big old aluminum frames on there, and then basically it was a bag that was strapped to that aluminum frame. And we moved away from that because we wanted to be light. But this is about as great as you can get for completely transferring the weight all the way down to your hip belt on the pack. If you see here, the frame actually runs through this hip belt. So you can't do that with very many packs. That you're not gonna go and compress it. It is because this hip belt is supporting the entire pack. And that is awesome. It has another nice little feature in here. I've never used this feature though, but I still think it's neat, and I appreciate the design of it. And that is, there is a pocket here that you can get into the bottom of your backpack. And I'm now reaching into that big, large chamber in the back. That's always what I look for on a backpack. On the main compartment is one big pocket. And supposedly that is so that you can keep your pistol in there or something like that. You have easy access to it. I don't carry a pistol usually, but maybe there's something else that you could have in there. Maybe that's where you store your wallet or something like that. But that gives you access to the bottom of the pack. So moving along on this pack, you'll see the mesh pocket. It's coming all the way from here to here. It has a nice big mesh pocket. See these bungees in the back here? If there's any pack designers out there, please listen to me. These things don't do anything. This is 1/16 shot cord. Are you really gonna count on this to hold your fleece back there? I think they do that because they look neat. But really, they just become something that gets in the way. And especially 1/16 of an inch, it's really non-functioning. It's a small peeve of mine, but I would personally never use that. It does have daisy chain on the bottom here, and it would make it so that I could strap a pad down here, so gives me that versatility. So this thing's almost perfect. The only place where I really have any fears on this, and it might be unfounded, is I feel they should have continued the webbing right up into the body of the backpack, connecting it right here to where the frame connects, because that way it would have been indestructible. Right now, I got Dyneema sewn to Dyneema, and when you sew Dyneema, you're perforating it, and it's really strong. But I wish it had webbing reinforced in there. It really would have been just I mean, we have daisy chain all over this thing. We just needed a piece of webbing there. And then I think this thing is bloody perfect. So that's a suggestion, not a criticism, because this pack is a fantastic pack and it really rides really well. I'm just always afraid of the shoulder straps. So I like things simple, and I like my pack simple. And I told you, I mean, I'm looking for hip belts. I'm looking for pockets there on the sides. I want a big mesh pocket in the back to keep the things that are okay to be wet. And I want a big bag to stick things in. But that doesn't mean I can't appreciate something that it isn't simple. So I got one here, and of everything that I just said, this is the complete opposite. But man, it is a work of art, so I really need to show it off because it is an amazing, the ingenuity that went into this. This is an arm, an Arn, and it's it's Freedom something is the name of the pack. But this, I mean, when I say don't have many zippers on it, don't have unnecessary pockets, don't have have a big mesh pocket. This is the exact opposite, but it's still an amazing pack. And one of the things, the features that makes this pack, now you crisscross these. Where's my other shoulder strap? There we go. So you crisscross these and you have these huge pockets up here. I think the real reason for this is for putting water bottles. And I could put 2 smart water bottles in both of these easily and still have room. And it's supposed to distribute your weight. You're not carrying all your weight on your back, you're carrying it on your front, which counters the weight back here and kind of balance things out. I don't know about the science of that because honestly, these things weigh something, so you've added to the overall weight. And really, the weight on your back is the weight on your shoulders. I'm not really walking around and going, oh, I'm really being pulled back. I really feel like when I'm wearing a correctly fitted backpack and it's transferring the weight to my hips, it's really part of my back. And I really, I don't know if that is correct, but it's the science that they're going with, and this thing is an engineering marvel in the way that it moves and the way that it fits. And I will tell you, it really does, it rides really nice. You move, the way things move on here is incredible. They put a lot into this. You can see how, like, when I move here, it still supports this, the pack and the hip belt, but it's free to move side to side. The way these crisscross really make it so that I have total movement, probably more than what I really need or ever would appreciate. These big billowing pockets have more mesh pockets up here that you could fit more stuff. They have these compression straps on here so you can tighten it all down. There is aluminum stays in this that run from up here all the way down onto your hip belt, and it goes right onto your hip belt. So the weight literally is transferred right onto your hip belt. It has no mesh pocket. And that's a shame. And well, so one more thing this pack has, and it's a very unique feature. Now, they didn't put side straps on here to compress things to hold them to your back. What they did, this is the pack liner, and if you take a look at the pack liner, it's actually a donut. And the reason it is a donut is because inside this pack is this panel. You stick that pack liner in there, you stick this through here, and you'll see that there's this zipper. So then you zipper it, which goes onto this seam. And that is what keeps things compressed up against your back, is that band that goes in between that donut hole. And that is another marvel that I think is amazing, that that's the way they did it. I could never fit my Anaconda in here. You have to slide things in and get around that. So anyhow, I don't want to go too much on this iron. It is, I show it as something of, I consider this a marvel. And the engineering that went into it to make it so that it's so flexible and so moves is really neat. The way it transfers the weight. One more piece on here is the hip belt. It's got this really strong part here, but remember me talking about making it form around your hip bone? Look at the cup that this forms to do that. This is probably the best hip belt I have ever seen, and I really would expect nothing less than that from this particular manufacturer. These things I think are made in New Zealand, and I haven't seen them around too much. I think this thing weighs like, I'm gonna take the water bottle out of here. It's still got to be close to 5 pounds if it's not 5 pounds. All right, so actually the packs that I'm probably going to start with for my through hike are probably this one. Actually, Paul, if you're out there, Alana really wants to thank you. Paul went and gave this to her for her through hike, and this is, I think, a 50 liter large Hyperlight, and they really do know how to make a really good backpack, and all the features that I have talked to you about. Compression straps on the side. They're keeping it light by using a very heavy-duty grosgrain, but it's able to compress that down both at the bottom and the top. They do have a port here for taking water out. The inside is just a big bag. It has 2 aluminum stays that run down right to where your hip belt is. There's a frame sheet under here. The pack straps are excellent. The hip belt, although I wish it had a little bit better, and this is size, last person to wear this is my daughter, so I'll say that I usually like the ones that I pull this way, that they're anchored down here, and I usually like the dual suspension pieces because I want to form around here. But this is pretty darn good. Hip belts actually, the hip belt pockets are generous, and they run all the way to the back, so they've used all of that space that they could. I am able to access the side pockets really well. This is what she's probably going to be carrying when I first start out. We are starting out in January, so I'm going to be packing pretty heavy, and well, I'm going to have some camera equipment and stuff, so I have basically the same thing in a 70 liter, and from everything that I can tell, now I bought this used. If I hadn't bought it used, I would have gotten a mesh pocket because I don't have a mesh pocket here. I wish they carried the mesh pocket up higher. I think they're trying to land it to here. but they're not hammock campers because they sell tents. So, but as far as I can tell, the difference between the, now this has a hammock in it, so it's being held more round. But as far as I can tell, the difference in the liters from this, I think this is a 50 liter, this is a 70 liter, is this one is taller. And that's really it. If I really wanted to, I could cut this down and put this there, and then I got the same thing as this. Let's see, maybe the width. I mean, the width is slightly wider on the large one, but it's not even an inch. So there really isn't that much difference. And as long as you don't pack your fears, you'll be fine. You know, start bringing that extra quilt, or I don't know, extra clothing. Clothing is the biggest thing that people pack too much. All right. Man, I talked for a long time. I'm sorry. We're going to do one more giveaway. These are up booties, and this is not the season for up booties. And they are camo, and this is our cloakwear camo up booties, but this would be good for wintertime. So we're going to do YouTube. And the first person to do #Dutch wins these. All right, I'm going to wrap that up. So really want to thank everybody for chiming in and listening to me go on about backpacks, and I've only scratched the surface of everything about backpacks, and believe me, I didn't bring all my backpacks up. And I hope you found it entertaining and maybe learned a thing or two. So Father's Day is coming, and get out there. I'm really hoping to get out there myself and do a great, we've been doing Pennsylvania in sections again, and I think it'll be like my 5th time that I've through hiked Pennsylvania. So all right. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Dad, what do you want for Father's Day this year?
You don't have to get me anything special. You ready for this hike?
Yeah, let's go. What about like a tarp, or like a high-end backpack, or like maybe some titanium cookware?
Oh, wow. You are really going all out. Like I said before, you don't have to get me anything.
Okay. I got it. I know what I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you a Dutchware gift card. That way you can get anything you want.
The best thing you can possibly give me is spending time with you out here in nature, because things are things and memories are forever.
Aw, I love you, Dad.
For this Father's Day, try to go out and have some adventures with your family. And from the Dutchware family, happy Father's Day. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Mom, can you return those cheeseburger socks I bought? I have a better gift idea. Me.